Hi guys, my name's Seb Tudor, I'm the man on the Silver Mountain and welcome back. Today I wanted to talk about another kind of war. Yeah, I know, I'm continuing to put these out for the time being. But the one that I wanted to talk about right now is culture war. And this is unfortunately a bit misleading because it's not grand cultures that are being described here. It tends to be the much smaller and confined cultures, which tend to be either conservative or liberal or kind of more traditionalist or progressive. And this is a war that is becoming more prevalent and more obvious now than it ever has been, purely because the tribalism has set in. And along with all of these other issues and wars that we've been talking about so far, you've got this big split. And the big split seemingly tends to also sit with the us versus them thing, where you have individuals who are actively violent or actively negative towards other people in ways that are completely disproportionate to the you know matter at hand. And so where I want to address this is this has been going on for time immemorial, where you've had the old wanting to maintain the status quo or maintain the old way of doing things because it works, so why bother fixing it? Because it's worked for them. And then or you've got people who've been swept up by it, uninformed, whatever, and then you've got the progressives, some of which are informed and want to do the right thing, but then you've got the people who just want to run away from the status quo and the old because it's always greener on the other side, or grass is always greener on the other side. And you've got the individuals who, again, also aren't particularly well informed and get swept up with that movement. Now, I've said before that the place that makes sense is to view all of this from is the top of the mountain, which is going to be dead center in our little axis of kind of progressive and to conservative and whatever else. Yeah, if you're going to be on the political spectrum, the center is the place to be because there are good ideas on both sides. And the only place to see all of those good ideas, take them into account, and then try and put them together in a way that functions is from the centre, is from being impartial and working with people from both sides to make it happen. Now, where has politics gone wrong? Well, politics was wrong from the very beginning, but the systems that we had were appropriate to the time. For example, in this country, we've got a very old government that has been around for numerous years, and for the most of that time has been focused around two major parties. Now we have other parties involved as well, but overall the two major parties are the ones that still hold all the power and are able to oppose one another, but that's it. And the impartiality of the centre position, where to view both sides and weigh them up, has never been a real part of our government, and it's never been a part of many major governments around the planet. And I feel like this is now the problem. And this kind of culture war, as it's described, is a kind of really interesting thing to look at, because where you've got people who would maybe count themselves as liberal early on, who then get twisted and jaded, and they become more traditionalist and conservative instead of maintaining some kind of consistency in their views and opinions. It's an interesting thing to see, and it's an interesting thing to look at the causes of. But now you see those people getting twisted and shifted more and more, purely because things like media are so easily available to them, and they throw across so many opinions from people in positions of authority or people in positions of influence. The influencer economy on YouTube, the influencer economy in the world at large, where you will have movie stars and pop stars and whoever else presenting products to people in adverts, and as a result hoping that they will sell. All of those kind of influencer pockets play into this, and they allow it to accelerate, and they allow it to get worse far faster than it would otherwise. And this is part of the reason why you're seeing this division now, because you've got people of authority and power weighing in on either side. No one's getting the full picture unless they actually look for it, but not many people are looking for it. And the confirmation bias that comes in afterwards is a big thing. So, again, we'll take a look at the reality of this situation. The reality of this situation is that these divisions are nothing but harmful. You know, we are living now in a world that is so small that a lot of the traditionalist ideas don't make any sense anymore. You know, because a lot of the traditionalist views that have come out more recently tend to be more kind of populist nationalist ideas, and those ideas make no sense. When I can communicate with someone on the other side of the planet without any real hassle to me or to them, you know, that makes the world an awful lot smaller. And that means that these tiny nations that are trying to work by themselves or hold on to these values, you know, especially when they're holding on to the values because, oh, well, it feels right, or because that's what I want, you know, it doesn't really add up, but it does cause conflict. And it's conflict that can grow into something good, I'm sure, because all conflict generates growth over time, but you know, it takes time and it takes hard work and it takes looking into. But then you've got the other side where people on the more progressive side just want to run away like a runaway train, like smashing through things and just obliterating everything instead of taking a more considered approach which will allow for everyone to be accounted for. And this is where the options that we have ahead of us are pretty significant, but they're never going to get achieved individually, which is again why conversation, why working with people and cooperating and all those kind of things become such a big deal. They become so important to this. And the main kind of focus of these things should be what's effective, what works well. It shouldn't be who's right and who's wrong or anything like that. It should just be what works. But at the moment, the way politics is, people are far too focused on winning points, on scoring points over the other team, you know, on their tribe doing better and looking better than the other guy. And that's where this all breaks down. And so the other options that we have ahead of us, I feel, are to let it run riot and to let it fly out of control and break down on every side of the political spectrum and on everything else, just so that then once it's broken down and collapsed, we can maybe try and start building it up again. Or we need to look to reforms, and we need to look to substantial reforms that work in an impartial way, you know, completely removed from the split between traditional and progressive. You know, you need to look at the effectiveness of it based on fact, and that's all. You know, you need to have that on board and you need to apply it. And the only way that will happen isn't going to be through some bloody coup or some excessive revolution where you've got people marching in the streets and going on riots and, you know, going crazy. It's going to happen by people coming together, sitting down, talking about it, and then working within the current system to then break down that system and reform it into something that works. This is why I personally voted against things like Brexit, because I don't feel that removing ourselves from systems that were already established, that we fought hard to get into, is worth it when we can work within that system, break it down, work with people, converse with people, and then restructure it in a way that works better for everybody, not just us. But obviously that isn't the way that lots of people went for various reasons, and as a result that isn't what is likely to happen, which is a shame. You know, it could have, the votes that have happened over 2016 could have been the jumping off point for a beginning of a new era in cooperation and collaboration and achieving things and kind of breaking down the issues that we've had for so long and solving them. But it turned out that that wasn't the case, and now we're left with these options of letting it run crazy until it collapses, and then we can try and fix it, or trying to kind of intervene in a more positive and slow and easy to communicate way to fix the things as we go. I'm obviously more in favour of that one, but then I see the way forward being if each person has the conversations, takes the time to talk with other people, and calls them out when they're following ideologies that are either stagnating and broken or too extreme and running off into the distance without a care for what they're leaving behind them in their wake in terms of damage. Those are the conversations that we need to have, that everyone needs to have, that everyone needs to work through. And we need to look at facts, and we need to look at what's effective. I know I talk about that kind of thing an awful lot, basing things on the reality of the situation as best as we can understand it through empirical fact, through information. It all needs to be worked on that way, so that then, as said, with the whole tower analogy, if we're building a new system from a crumbled tower, building a new tower from a crumbled tower, you want to make sure that its foundation is solid and sturdy, so that then whatever it is that you build up from the old is going to last. It's going to stand stronger and more powerful than it was before. If you take what you already have and then try and rebuild it on sand, it will collapse. The foundations will get blown away and the whole structure will just fall to the floor again. So that's where we need to start, at the foundation, with the facts, having the discussions, having the long debates and working to communicate these things to people. And then we need to try and progress and push it through the structure that we already have to better work through into the future and sort all these things out for everybody. They're not complex issues. They're not difficult and hard to understand if you take the time to look at them. It's just the fact that there is an awful lot of tribalism and an awful lot of bloody-minded people who are only out for themselves, who cause all of these things to slow down, break, falter, whatever else. Anyway, guys, I'd love to hear what you guys think. Please let me know, which side of these things are you on? Are you, like me, more centre, sat looking at the good from both sides and wishing we could just cooperate between parties for a moment just so that this good thing and that good thing can happen? Please let me know, and I'd love to kind of get into that discussion with you guys. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the video tomorrow. Take care. Thank you very much for watching, guys. If you found this at all informative or useful or entertaining in any way, then please drop me a like and subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the video tomorrow. Take care.